It is exactly 4:16 a.m. local time on January 8th, 2026. Deep inside the Russian interior, far from the front lines of the Donbass, the CRF-6 airfield is wrapped in the heavy, suffocating silence of a winter night. The temperature is 20 degrees below zero. The air is so cold, it hurts to breathe. To the civilian world, this facility barely exists on maps. It is just another gray slab of concrete in the vastness of the Russian hinterland. But to the Russian High Command, this base is the new crown jewel of their strategic deterrence. Inside the reinforced concrete hangars and sitting on massive mobile transporter erector launchers parked on the tarmac lies a stockpile of Oreshnik missiles. This isn't just a supply depot, it is a doomsday vault. These are not standard tactical rockets. They are hypersonic, solid-fuel vectors designed to strike European capitals with zero warning. Russia has been quietly moving these assets here for weeks, treating CRF-6 as a sanctuary, a place where they could amass enough kinetic energy to level a city, safe from the reach of Ukrainian drones. The base commander sleeps soundly in his quarters. The perimeter is secure, patrolled by elite guards and thermal cameras. The surrounding hills are studded with S-400 batteries, their radars spinning, watching the horizon. He believes he is hiding in the shadows. He believes distance is his armor. He is wrong. For weeks, Ukrainian intelligence has been watching. They didn't use spies on the ground, they used math. From hundreds of miles away, analysts in Kyiv pored over commercial satellite imagery. They weren't looking for a single smoking gun. They were looking for the pattern of life. They noticed the subtle shifts. The snow was cleared from 3 specific hangars, but not the others. Specialized refueling trucks began arriving at 3 a.m. instead of noon. The shift changes for the security detail doubled in frequency. Nothing dramatic happened, and that is exactly what made it suspicious. Ukraine watched the stockpile grow. They watched the target value rise. They held their fire when the first missile arrived. They waited. They waited for the pot to get big enough to justify the hand. And tonight, the waiting ends. Rewind to 3:51 a.m., 25 minutes before the main event. We are inside the command vehicle of the S-400 Triumph battery guarding the western sector. The air inside is warm, smelling of ozone, diesel fumes, and stale tobacco. Lieutenant Volkov, a young radar operator, rubs his eyes. He is fighting the monotony of the graveyard shift. The heater hums against the winter chill. The scope, which had been clear for hours, suddenly flickers. It isn't a solid contact. It is a ghost echo, a blip that appears and vanishes. Then another, then 10 more. Volkov leans forward, his heart skipping a beat. To the Russian radar, the sky is suddenly filling with targets, moving at conflicting speeds. He grabs the headset. Alert! Multiple contacts! Inbound from the west! Azimuth 270! The command vehicle descends into chaos. Voices overlap. Alarms blare, a dissonant symphony of warnings. A junior officer calls out a bearing, but a senior officer contradicts him, claiming it's an atmospheric anomaly. Is it birds? Is it jamming? Is it a glitch? Sweat begins to bead on Volkov's forehead. The screen shows 52 targets. They are moving like heavy bombers. The manual says engage. His gut says it's a trap. But in the Russian military, you don't follow your gut. You follow orders. But there are no jets. There are no bombers. The airspace has been saturated with miniature air-launched decoy, jammers. They are flying hallucinations. These are small, disposable drones that scream electronically. They project the radar signature of a massive B-52 bomber, but they are made of plastic and cost a fraction of a real missile. The S-400 system struggles to prioritize. The computer is overwhelmed by the sheer volume of data. It cannot tell the difference between a threat and a toy. The battery commander, under immense pressure, makes the fatal error. He orders engagement. Free fire! Empty the tubes! For the next 20 minutes, the S-400s roar into action. The night sky lights up as massive interceptor missiles launch. They streak upward, hunting the Phantom fleet. The Russian crews cheer as they see explosions on their screens. They think they are repelling a massive NATO-style air raid. In reality, they are firing million-dollar missiles at flying decoys. They are emptying their magazines. They are burning their ammo. And as the last tube goes empty, the battery falls silent. They enter the reload gap. This is the most dangerous window in air defense warfare. Reloading an S-400 isn't like changing a magazine on a rifle. It is a heavy, industrial operation. It requires a crane, a transport loader, and a crew of men working with 1,000-pound canisters in the freezing cold. It takes time. For the next 15 minutes, the battery is offline. The radar is spinning, but the tubes are empty. The sky is defenseless. 4:16 a.m. The kinetic phase begins without a siren. From outside the effective defense range, a wave of JASSM cruise missiles crosses the perimeter. They don't arrive in a swarm, they arrive in a surgical line, flying low, threading the needle through the gaps left by the depleted S-400s. They use terrain-following radar to hide in the valleys. The first missile does not hit the Oreshniks. It slams into the Western support infrastructure. Impact. The warhead detonates inside the power substation. The base's grid is severed. The backup command center is vaporized. Internal communications lines go dead. In 1 second, CRF-6 stops being a cohesive military base. The lights die. The hum of the servers cuts out. The floodlights on the perimeter go black. For a moment, there is a terrifying silence in the bunkers. Soldiers are shouting into dead radios, clicking handsets that no longer connect to anyone. The coordinated defense fractures into 100 isolated, panicked units in the dark. 4:18 a.m. The attack shifts gears. The heavy missiles are followed by a swarm of loitering munitions, suicide drones hunting for heat. On the ground, panic takes over. The base commander, cut off from central command and blind in the darkness, falls back on Cold War doctrine. He grabs a handheld radio and shouts the order. "Disperse! Get the launchers out of the hangars! Move them to the secondary positions!" It is a logical order. It is what he was trained to do in the academy. Static targets die, moving targets survive. But tonight, it is a death sentence. That doctrine was written for a war against high-altitude bombers, not thermal imaging drones. In the era of thermal sensors, movement is visibility. As the massive mobile launchers fire up their heavy diesel engines to flee, their exhausts glow white-hot against the freezing background. To the drones hovering above, they light up like bonfires in the snow. The drones dive. Impact. One launcher is hit on the internal road, its fuel tank erupting. Another is struck while trying to exit the main gate, blocking the exit. In less than 2 minutes, the escape routes are clogged with burning wreckage. The arsenal is trapped inside the kill box. 4:24 a.m. The turning point. A precision strike hits the main storage zone, where loaded Oreshnik missiles are sitting next to their guidance systems. The initial detonation is large, but what follows is a lesson in chemistry. The Oreshnik is powered by high-energy solid fuel. This isn't liquid fuel that can just burn off. This is a solid propellant, containing its own oxidizer. When ignited by an external blast, it doesn't just explode, it burns with a ferocity that no safety system can withstand. It burns at thousands of degrees. The fuel cooks off. Inside the base command post, the windows rattle violently. The commander stops shouting orders. He walks to the reinforced glass and stares out. His face is illuminated by the orange glow of his own career burning down. He realizes there is nothing left to save. Boom! A massive secondary detonation rolls through the facility. It isn't a clean blast, it is a rolling wall of fire. One missile triggers the next. The sympathetic detonation creates a chain reaction. The heat is so intense, it melts the concrete floor of the hangar. Fire columns shoot into the night sky, visible from miles away. Thermal imaging satellites in low Earth orbit record a heat spike that refuses to dissipate. By 4:29 a.m., just 10 minutes after the first hit, the objective is met. The Oreshnik arsenal at CRF-6 has been vaporized. The strategic reserve is gone. 4:44 a.m. The offensive systems have vanished. The sky is quiet again. But on the ground, CRF-6 is a hellscape. Emergency teams try to approach the fires, but the heat is too extreme. Their suits begin to smoke if they get too close. Sporadic secondary blasts rock the compound as remaining fuel segments ignite like fireworks. The shockwave of this strike travels faster than the sound. Hundreds of miles away, telephones are ringing in air bases across the Russian interior. Commanders in Engels, Saratov, and Alenia are waking up to emergency alerts. The message is clear and terrifying. If CRF-6 isn't safe, nowhere is safe. The illusion of the deep rear has been shattered. The map has shrunk. For the first time, Russian generals are looking at their own bases not as sanctuaries, but as traps. As dawn approaches at 6 a.m., the smoke still billows over the ruins, painting a black streak across the morning sky. There is no immediate Russian counterstrike. There is no bluster from the Kremlin. There is only a pause. A silence filled with uncomfortable questions. Officers are asking how their sanctuary was breached so easily. They are realizing that storing strategic systems in a single location is no longer a strategy. It is suicide. This marks a global shift in military thinking. For a century, armies have relied on rear areas, safe zones behind the lines, where they could rest, repair, and rearm. That era is over. In a world of satellite surveillance, long-range precision fires, and autonomous drones, there is no such thing as a safe zone. The entire country is the battlefield. The strike on CRF-6 teaches us a brutal lesson about modern warfare. You cannot hide mass. You cannot hoard power. If you concentrate your assets, you create a target. Ukraine didn't just destroy a stockpile of missiles, they destroyed the Russian doctrine of safe rear areas. Moscow treated the Oreshnik as a deterrent. They thought its speed made it invincible. Today, it is just ash on a runway, destroyed before it could ever fly. This operation proves that in 2026, intelligence is more lethal than firepower. Ukraine watched, waited, and struck exactly when it hurt the most. Power that hides eventually rusts. Power that moves eventually burns. If you want to understand the shifting tides of this war before they hit the headlines, make sure to like and subscribe. We will keep watching the horizon so you don't have to.